Welcome to Unity of Flagstaff. I am Reverend Penny Honey, and as always, it is our honor to share this time with you here on our YouTube channel at youtube.unityofflagstaff.org. Of course, for more information about the ministry, please go to our website at www.unityofflagstaff.org. And if you want to get a hold of me, email me at office@unityofflagstaff.org. So there you are, my folks. That's how we know how to connect in today's world. And if you're not receiving our newsletter, please let me know that at that email, office@unityofflagstaff.org, and we'll get you on that mailing list. I want to thank those of you who have participated in the ongoing food drive for Flagstaff Family Food Center. I mentioned to you that they are currently feeding 80% more folks than they had before the pandemic. So we intend to continue to support them through this quarter as part of our Helping Hands team project. So won't you join us? You can make donations to the Flagstaff Family Food Center at hotfood.org or of course through our website at the www.unityofflagstaff.org. While you're there, you can of course donate to this thriving ministry, and we appreciate your ongoing support. I also want to just take a moment to tell you how honored and how pleased and how filled with joy I am to have said yes to the opportunity to a second year to serve as the minister here at Unity of Flagstaff. This is not just a simple thanks, folks. This is a heartfelt, this has changed my life. I am honored, and it is humbling to work with such amazing people. So thank you. Thank you for that, my friend. Today's message is not too far. So I invite you into enjoying the music of Trina Goetz as she performs the Peter Mayer song, Not Too Far. This is about empathy and understanding. Sure seems like we could use a little bit of that on the planet. Enjoy.
It's not far to another heart. It's not far to another heart. You can hear it if you listen hard. It's not far. It's not far. It's not far to another's eyes. It's not far to another's eyes. You can see through them if you try. It's not far. It's not far. It's not far to another land. It's not far to another land. If you walk there, then you may understand. It's not far. It's not far. It's not far to the other side. It's not far to the other side. You can build a bridge or you can swim there if you like. It's not far. It's not far. It's not far to the other heart. It's not far to another heart. You just reach out from where you are. It's not far. It's not far. It's not far. It's not far.
men are on opposite sides of a river. The first man shouts out, "How do I get to the other side of the river?" And the second man shouts back, "You are on the other side of the river." Little misunderstanding, right? Little room for interpretation there. Today's message is, it's not far. I don't know about you all, but I have this sense that this abyss exists right now. That people are standing on opposite sides of this great, grand gap. And you know, we hear a lot about reaching across the aisle these days. Sometimes in the world right now, it just feels like that aisle is too big to even fathom being able to reach across. Sometimes it just feels like a bridge too far. And I don't think I'm the only one that feels that way in today's world. However, there is an opportunity, and it's a very basic spiritual teaching, and that is empathy and understanding. You know, why do we resist stepping toward empathy and understanding? Have you asked yourself that? Okay, I disagree with that person. Okay, well that's kind of a reason. But have you ever found yourself resisting understanding and empathy because you really don't care what the other person thinks? I mean, I got to tell you, there are moments I really don't care to hear another political pundit. I don't really care to hear another analysis. What I want to hear is what I already think I know. And I notice when I hold that thought, I push myself away from a place of understanding. I push myself away from a place of empathy. I think that sometimes for me, I also resist moving toward empathy and understanding because it'll weaken my stance. You know, I am so convinced and I am so strong in my convictions of what I believe and what I think I know. And what if I allow empathy or understanding to edge into there? Will I lose my stance? Will I no longer be so strong in my convictions? And maybe I'm just too tired to argue about it. And when I feel that kind of exhaustion, and I feel it often in today's world, when I feel that, what I notice is I have said that an argument has to be the prerequisite to understanding and empathy. As if I had to get into an elevated or escalated situation in order to step back and say, okay, I'm going to be understanding. Now, last week we talked about high ground thoughts, taking the high road. But this is a little different than that. This is a little different. Empathy and understanding are practices. And today, what I'm encouraging you to get a hold of is, it's not so far. It's the other side of a thought. This is not about changing someone's mind. This is not about trying to convince them of their error way of thinking. This is more about reaching across, but also reaching through the blatant differences. This is about consciously choosing to move toward the divine in each human being, in each individual. Now we're talking about empathy and understanding. And who knows? Perhaps if we can move to a place of empathy and understanding, we can actually shore up our convictions. We can stand in a stronger place of knowing, once I have heard what you may think that may be different than me, it may actually increase my argument. It may actually strengthen where I stand. I don't have to be afraid of reaching out in understanding and empathy. If I am strong in my convictions of what I know, I can stand in that. And I can be present to what your thoughts are. Do you think there's any need for this right now? Paquito? I don't have to agree with I don't have to agree with everything someone says, but everyone has something I could assimilate to make my own insight stronger and clearer. Abhijit Naskar told us that. Too far? Is it too far of a reach? Some moments it is, for me. But I think not. Because aside from the truth and the fact that we are infinite beings and that we are expressions of God, aside from all that, what we know is that science supports the fact that empathy is possible, and it's innate in our nature. Our spiritual nature to be able to stand for what we believe and come from a place of love. It's innate, science says. In the 90s, and many times since, science has proven that we are wired for empathy. I thought that was a great find. We're wired to be understanding. A group of Italian researchers discovered that the same brain cells, now stay with me on this, the same brain cells when a monkey watched a person grasp for a raisin were the same brain cells that lit up when the monkey was grasping for the raisin himself. And from that study, they took off with this, why would that be? Why would the monkey have that reaction? And through years and years and years of science, it has been proven that empathy is innate. That we as humans, the neuroscience studies have investigated that empathy is ingrained in our brain's architecture. So sorry, you can't use the excuse, well, that's just not my style. Because if you're human and you're breathing, you have an empathy gene. You really, truly are wired to come from a place of understanding. And is it any surprise when we consider principle number 1? Principle number 2. We are the essence of God, is what we're told in Unity. We are the essence of God, so of course we're empathetic. So of course we'd come from a place of understanding. In negotiating and teaching communication skills, we often hear the statement, I hear what you are saying. I hear what you're saying. And that gives the person empathy. It makes them feel heard, right? I offer this up. What if we started saying, I can feel that anger you're experiencing. I can feel that sense of separation that you are feeling right now. Hearing someone is not the same as agreeing with them. Hearing someone is not the same as agreeing with them. It could be that about being fully aware of where you are and where you stand, and that it is confirmed and while opening up to their divinity rather than their direction. What if we opened up in empathy and understanding and remembered that they too are the essence of God? That we don't have to be thinking that we have to take their side or support their stand. We can step back and realize their divinity. We don't have to take direction from them. And covering our ears and going la 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 la, which can sometimes be my method, I will tell you, la 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 is probably not the most spiritually mature way to approach things, right? And we were reminded in this quote by Meister Eckhart. Spirituality is not to be learned by flight from the world or by running away from things, Penny, or by turning solitary and going apart from the world. Rather, we must learn an inner solitude, wherever or whomever we may be. We must learn to penetrate things and find God there. Mr. Rogers gives us the sound advice of, be nice. Mariana Pogasan, a PhD in an article in Psychology Today, says this: empathy is a complex, multifaceted construct, and it refers to the emotional or intellectual identification with another person. So our human ability to empathize is called the building block of society and morality. How about that? Right? It puts a little more emphasis on it. You know, and Freud told us that only through empathy are we able to understand another person's life. So what science has made clear is this, is that empathy reduces the distance between us and others. It facilitates social connectedness and coherence. As a measure of emotional intelligence, it's an ingredient that makes for better leaders, physicians, conversation partners, just people in general. It just makes for better people. Empathy fosters emotional bonding, and it does that between parents and infants. It does that between members of society as a whole. So empathy takes us to a higher place. It allows us to see the similarities, and it allows us to see our humanness in others rather than letting the differences divide us. Because folks, that abyss that we were talking about earlier, it's dividing us. And the longer we stay on either side of that abyss, the less practice we have at being empathetic and understanding each other. And how is that working for us so far? It's not. Empathy, rather than letting the differences divide us, it makes us closer and connected. You know, the word namaste means I behold the divinity in you. I see the divinity in you. I see the divinity in me, and I honor that. So when I say the word namaste, and I use that word often, I notice that I use it often at the end of the talks. I want to recommit to what that means. I want to be conscious that when I say the word namaste, that I am beholding the divinity. I am recognizing the divinity in you. And every time we consciously make that choice, that abyss gets smaller. Every time we commit to being connected at a heart level, whether I agree or disagree with you, we start to close the gap. Every time. Empathy catalyzes a compassionate evolution of humankind. And it is a hope. It's a hope for us to come closer and deeper and come together in more meaningful ways. You know, this physical distancing that we're doing is playing a little game with us. I notice about myself. I'm very conscious about the mask, and I'm very conscious about my distance. However, there are folks that I feel very comfortable with, and I will guarantee you that they probably agree with me on most things. And I notice that I'm a little more lax. I notice that I feel myself get a little bristly, even if I know the person. But if I know, or I think I know, where they stand on things, then I'm much more stringent with my physical distancing. I'm much more stringent with my social distancing. I'm just noticing that about myself. I'm practicing the abyss. That's what I'm doing. Because I'm either physically distanced or I'm not. I'm either practicing that or I'm not. It doesn't matter what your opinion about anything is. It's about keeping you safe and me safe, right? Why would I have an emotional difference there? Yeah, the connection. Empathy is the ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes. And when I was sitting in meditation this morning, this is what came about that little saying. Empathy is about being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes. But I like to add the fact that empathy is not only putting yourself in someone else's shoes, but it's understanding why they bought that particular pair. Empathy is understanding why they are behaving the way they are. I can't explain everybody's behavior, and certainly not in today's world. But you know what I can do? I can reach out and try to hear between the lines and try to understand why there would be so much anger. Why would there be so much sadness? Why would there be so much fear? What if I were not so bent on understanding how somebody could have that opinion, and I would step back and say, I want to understand why. I want to hear your story. I want to have a clear understanding of why you would come from there. That's not judgment. That's actual empathy. That's actually caring. Now I'm trying to find out why they bought that pair of shoes. Does empathy resolve everything? No. Is it too far? No. It's not too far, and it's not too late. Empathy doesn't always succeed in resolving differences, but it is the best chance that we have of coming to a place of understanding. His Holiness the Dalai Lama says this: empathy is the most precious of human qualities. Empathy is the most precious of human qualities. You know, I think I've told this story, but I'm going to tell it again. I was helping my dad move after my mother passed. And we have an old family clock, and it hangs on the wall. I mean, it's one of those big old family clocks, and it's heavy. And he had suffered a heart attack and a stroke, and he just wasn't in the physical condition to do that, and I am his favorite son. And I can do anything. I can drive anything. I can move anything, don't you know? And that's exactly what he knows to be true about me. So when I went to move him out of the homestead and into a more appropriate facility, I was his mover. He didn't want anybody else's help. I was the one. That's okay. Okay? So I'm moving this heavy family clock, and I'm thinking to myself, well, how many times have I dusted this thing? Because, you know, it hung on our wall forever. My mother was a fanatic about cleaning, and I always had to get up on a little step stool to dust the top of it, don't you know? So I'm putting his little apartment together, and I'm hanging this clock. And this clock probably weighs about 65 or 70 pounds. It's heavy, right? Right there. And so I'm hanging this clock, and I've put the D-hook in the wall, and I've got everything lined up. I know exactly how I'm going to do this. And he begins to tell me how I'm not doing it right. And he begins to tell me how I'm just not doing it right. So I've got this 65-pound, 70-pound clock on my shoulder. You know, I'm trying to hoist it up on the wall, and I'm trying to hang it on the hook, and I'm, you know, it's just this. And he's telling me. And I could feel that Irish girl coming up. I could feel that anger. I could feel that disappointment. I could feel how I wasn't doing it right. And I set the clock down, and I turned and I looked at him, and I said, why do you always have to be right? And the look on this man's face broke my heart. It broke my heart in that moment. Because I was anything but empathetic. I was anything but understanding. And in that moment, when I looked into his face, it came to me. Of course he always has to be right. Of course he does. Because that is the way he expresses that he's going to keep me safe in the world. He's going to convince me, like he has since I was a little shorter than I am now. He's he is going to continue with what he's always done, and that is he's going to keep me safe. And the way that he keeps me safe is always being right. Because if I ever were to find out that he were wrong, I might not feel safe. And that is his expression. That is how he would show me that he cared for me. And so when those words came out of his mouth that he said, "You're doing it wrong," and the words came out of my mouth that said, "Why do you always have to be right?" an abyss opened. I never understood him. I still don't understand him, and that's okay. That wasn't my job as his daughter. But I could be understanding. I could be empathetic to the fact that that was his expression, and I would have shut myself off from learning how much I was cared for had I not moved to a place of empathy or tried to understand his reason for being that way. And I got a whole new story. I got a whole new experience. And I liked it a lot more. It was okay for me to be wrong. It wasn't okay for him to be wrong. That was his expression of care. And when I was able to move to a place of empathy, it made all the difference in the world. Now, there's a difference between empathy and understanding. According to Wikipedia, the difference between understanding and empathy is this: that empathy aligns a person with the feelings of another person. Understanding, however, is when the person aligns with information or knowledge. That's understanding. So in that moment, I could be empathetic and have a sense of what he was experiencing. And I could understand the reason. I got the information. In fact, he'd been giving it to me all my life. I just hadn't heard it. My mother used to say, "You're not listening right." That's what she'd say. There's a lot of wisdom in that. Listen with an ear of empathy. Listen with an ear of understanding so you can gather information. When somebody is in total disagreement with you, when you are not going to have mirrored ballots, right? When your ballot's not going to look like theirs, listen with a place of understanding so that we can still go vote the way we want to vote, still show up in the world the way we want to show up, still wear a mask, not wear a mask, and stand in a place of absolute empathy and understanding. We don't have to fight about this. We don't have to be angry at each other. We don't, and we can still come to a place of resolution. We don't have to agree. People are screaming right now with information. They're screaming it out loud on every side of every issue. Can you hear it? Can you hear it with an ear of understanding? Isn't there a plethora of opportunity to exercise empathy and understanding in today's world? If we have ever been given the opportunity, this is it. This is where we are invited into being those divine children of God and expressing that essence. This is it. It is easy when we all appear to be getting along. It is easy when I'm in a room full of people that love me and agree with me. But who am I if I cannot be with any human being that I disagree with or agree with and not hear them with an ear of understanding? Who am I if I don't come from a place of empathy? It's not far. It's the other side of a thought. It's this much care. It's this much empathy. And the awakening of our own faculty of understanding starts with questioning. I hear what you're saying. Tell me more. You know, I'd never looked at it that way. Can you give me some more explanation about that? And you're going to hear a whole lot of things that you think you don't like. And good for you to stand there in that place of empathy and understanding and take that information in so that your understanding can broaden and expand, so that we can start to model for the world what it is to be the essence of God. Because this is ours to do. We are those people. We are. It's not somebody else's job. We've got to heal ourselves. Mankind wants to be healed right now. It's ours to do. The awakening of our own faculty of understanding begins with questioning. Ask. Ask. Understanding is the ability to know, perceive, and apprehend. Understanding is important in developing our spiritual nature. And all I know about that is this: if we are authentically affirming peace and healing, and we say that's what we want, if we are authentically affirming comfort and calm and justice, isn't it important that our prayers and affirmations and thoughts be laced with empathy and understanding? It's a little embarrassing to me to sit in my meditation time and talk about wanting the planet to be healed and then get on Facebook and think, well, that's a stupid post. Well, that doesn't make any sense. That's not congruent with the child of God that I am. And I know I'm not the only one doing it, but it doesn't justify my behavior. Let's give our practices and our intentions and our affirmations and our denials something to stand on. And that thing that we stand on is understanding. Let's see beyond the appearances and look for the reason that they feel that way, and allow understanding to take us to deeper levels, to take us to a place of compassion and non-judgment. How will you show up in the world tomorrow if every time there's that bump and you don't agree and it's something you don't want to hear? How will you show up differently were you to adopt in that moment? I am the essence of God. I'm the essence of God. How could I do anything but come from a place of empathy and understanding? How would that be possible? I use the faculty of understanding to see beyond human appearances and into the light of truth. Blind faith works sometimes, it really does, and I am so grateful for grace. But I will tell you, our spiritual growth demands, and it depends on a base that is more dependable, that is more solid, and that solid base, based in spiritual truth, is understanding. I can pray for this planet all day long, and if I am not coming from a place of empathy and understanding, I think I'm just making more noise. I think I'm just making more noise, and it's not that far. In that thought, in my meditation chair, in my meditation room, when I am praying for the healing of this planet, and I am not coming from a place of understanding, all I have to do is take a breath. Take a breath and remember that you are the essence of God. You are the essence of God. And in that moment, that breath that you breathe back in, that breath of life, is of understanding, and it is of empathy. We are empathy. Science says we're wired for it. We are understanding. This is who we are. We need to act like it. I hear conversations and I'm in them and I love them, and I hear them between these like-minded folks that I hang out with. And I hear that not understanding. I see that abyss being given more and more and more breadth. I see it even in the conversations of those of us who are spiritual and mature in our spirituality. I'm calling us on it. I'm inviting us into a new thought. How can I say that it's not far when it feels so far? This is on us. Right here in this world, this is on us. Every interaction, every encounter, every conversation, every argument, every disagreement, it's on us to be empathy. It's on us to be understanding. And the closer we get to November 3rd, the more I'm going to call us out on it. The closer we get to coming to a new place in this world, whatever the election result is, we are coming to a new place in this world. And I, for one, I'm going to hold my feet to the fire, and I'm going to ask myself to show up as the empathetic, understanding essence of God that I am and that you are. God is the place where we live. God in us, as us, expressing through us. It's not far. It's not far. It's right here. We are it. And I invite you into that expression. And I truly am going to keep calling us out on it. Because we are the ones. We are the place that God is. We are. Namaste. And now we'll enjoy the music of Brian Biter as he performs the Eddie Watkins Jr. song, We Are the Place That God Lives. Thank you.
The burdens sometimes come, living this thing called life. Am I wise enough to make the right decisions when I'm standing at the fork in the road? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone, and there's nothing I have to do on my own. 'Cause I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its meaning. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its meaning. I am the place where God shows up. Have enough to do the things I need to do to take care of myself? Will I have the health, the mind, the body to live a life of grace and wholeness? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone, and there's nothing I have to do on my own. 'Cause I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its meaning. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its meaning. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives. You are the place where God lives. You are the place where God lives. We are the place where God lives. 'Cause I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its meaning. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its meaning. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its God shows us.
Thank you, Brian. We are the place where God lives. We are the expression of spirit. My life expresses the radiant being of spirit and sees it in myself and all others. I encourage you to affirm with me the prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us wherever we are. Wherever we are, God is, and all is swell. Namaste, my friends. www.unityofflagstaff.org. Check it out. We look forward to connecting with you next time. Namaste.